CJ, welcome to the cave. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
The viewers and listeners that tune into this interview know they know you from former WWE diva Lana, but you're here today to talk about your acting career, which is I'm excited about. Wife like, I saw it recently because I had Elena on, and she was amazing.
I love her. She's amazing. She's so great.
So,
Huge star.
oh yeah, definitely. She's one of the sweetest people I've had, I believe.
Yes, she's
Yeah.
so sweet. I when I met her, I kept on being like, "You're a unicorn. You're not real." Like she is like perfect body, perfect face, speaks 8 languages,
Oh yeah.
dances, does. I now my net last thing like she just posted something. I know we're going on a tangent, but yesterday she put something on Twitter and of her like training and doing martial arts. I'm like, I want to fight you.
I did see that last night. So we mentioned the whole wrestling thing and everything. What made you though get into the acting world? Because I saw that you've done some training with the Groundlings, which I love the Groundlings. I think it's a great group. I've had guests on here that perform the Groundlings, then you've done a little acting, comedy. But what pushed you into the acting? Was that always the plan?
Well, I actually started off in acting and I started off in
Okay.
Hollywood. So I think I have like a much different journey than I would say. I mean, the majority of, I don't actually, 99.9% of people that I know in wrestling. So I started off as a professional dancer. I did as a ballerina in Russia. Then I moved to LA when I was like 18 years old and going back between Florida State and Hollywood. And I was just diving into it, like dancing on a lot of different shows and movies like Pitch Perfect. And then I would get a lot of auditions, acting auditions, because this is the time when Glee was
Okay.
like the ups, the Glees, like dance, Pitch Perfect. Dance was really, really like the in thing to do for television and movies at the time. And so I was like, I would get a lot of auditions and I had no idea. I would have my sides and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Because I never learned like all the etiquettes of acting. But with dance and same with wrestling, we're storytellers, just like actors. But we just, maybe tell it in a different way. Like with dance and wrestling, a lot of it is told without words. While in television and film, a lot of the storytelling is with words and not just cinematic or physicality. So a lot of it kind of came quickly to me because I've been doing it from such a young age. I had to really focus on pulling verbiage better because I do notice a lot of us dancers or stuntmen or wrestlers, like we're great storytellers on how can we take up how can we pick up verbiage from the page effortlessly and organically? And so I really, really, really dived in on that. Actually, it's exactly a decade, October 2012. I started at Leslie Kahn's acting school. She's like the queen of comedy and acting as well. And I trained with her, and 6 months later, I got my audition. Actually, at the time, I was auditioning for WWE, and it was an audition. It was, I pre-pandemic when I lived out here, I would spend 4 or 5 hours in my car driving from audition to audition, driving from North Hollywood to Hollywood, another 2 hours to Santa Monica, then back to downtown. And that was like the life of an entertainer until you make it to like a huge, huge level. And it was an audition. And I really strongly believe that my acting classes is what helped me dance as well, but acting really helped me accelerate a lot quicker in WWE because I was able to basically build characters with words. And that's what really acting taught me. And I got signed and started in 2013, July. And I, I don't know if you've ever seen Glow and how one of the characters who plays the Russian, she would come in with like 5 different character pitches. And that was literally what I was doing in development. So I would come to Dusty Rhodes and I'm like, here, I have 7 different character pitches. This is one poster, all the different ideas and catchphrases and costumes. Here's another one. Here's another one. And in promo class, I would come with like 5 different people and we would have huge elaborate scene that they had really never seen before because most people in developmentals come up there and like just do a promo, and I'm like directing 5 people, and just kind of doing the most. But I really, Dusty Rhodes was always really impressed with my creativity and ambition and work ethic. And I was really lucky. A month later, I was paired with my husband, real life husband, Miroslav. At the time, he was going by Rusev. And we got paired as the big bad Russians. And it was debuted on the main roster, and really just, it was a big fast track. I think it's important. It doesn't matter in what genre of storytelling you are, if it's wrestling, if it's television, if it's film, is to really create identifiable characters. And yes, it's great to have relatable characters, especially if it's a good guy, for them to be relatable. But like, for even if it's a bad guy, as long as they're identifiable, like especially in wrestling, because you don't have as much verbiage to drive a story, like, oh, you're the Russians, okay, we're American, we hate Russians, or you're the snobby hot girl that is narcissistic, or you're the bully. And it's just simple storytelling, David versus Goliath type of thing. And so I was really lucky. I learned so much in my 8 years in WWE. And I feel like everything that I learned in acting class, I was so lucky because I was doing live scenes essentially, and all this verbiage every single week on live television, and you don't get a second take. Right. And it really taught me to make bold decisions and bold choices and stand behind them, and you either sink or swim. So It helped me a lot. It's kind of, I feel like now I'm coming back to Hollywood this past year, and it's been more, I think when I started in WWE, I was so excited because it was this world where you're storytelling and it's scripted, but it's also live. So it was I can't even explain it. There's nothing in the world like it. There's such an adrenaline high you get from the fans. And I felt like for the first time in my life, this is what I was made to do, because I love dancing because it's a live audience, acting because that's especially like television and film. And this was the one place that I could bring it together. Those beautiful, like live and still television, and you travel and you're in a different city every single day. And so the one thing I really wanted to learn in my time in WWE was how to become really physical and be really aggressive and not just have a graceful dancer aesthetic. And now that I'm back in Hollywood, I've been really focusing on action and stunt work and really trying to create a lane for myself as an action actor, not just an actor, but an action actor, someone that can do her own stunts, someone that can do her own fight scenes. And we don't have a lot of women like that in the industry. And we really don't even have a lot of roles like that in the industry yet. And so that's a fight too, of being like, no, 90% of roles in the action space are men. I'm gonna encourage that to go to only 80%, and just to start to, just change and be more inclusive.
You mentioned storytelling and everything. Like, is there somebody that you look up to try to like study under them, like watch their movies or TV shows just to make your craft even better?
Oh, of course. I spend a lot of time studying. I think when it comes to acting, Viola Davis has always been one of my favorite actresses. I think that she's so compelling to watch. And she just really opens up a part of her, and she makes me feel something. And I'm always drawn to people that make me feel something. And as a performer and as a professional wrestler and actor, I want to make people feel something, either hate me, either love me, laugh at me. If that's my role, I'm fine with that, as long as I make you feel something. And if I can't make you feel something, then I'm failing my job as a storyteller and an entertainer. And Viola Davis, it doesn't matter what character she plays, she always makes me feel something. And it's really cool to see her in Woman King 2, of like, now she's in action, and it's just like really inspiring. So I study her a lot. I study a lot of David Leitch's movies, as just crossing over more into producing as well, and wanting to do producing. I want to produce movies for the next 30 years of my life, and really studying that action space. And I think David Leitch is a genius when it comes to action. And I think part of it is because he was started off as a stuntman. So they know how, like, we know how we want the action shot. Yeah. And so I study a lot of his stuff too. That's awesome. And there's a long way.
You mentioned action movies and everything. Last year, I had your husband on, Miro, on the show, and he told me his favorite movies were Kickboxer and Bloodsport. How many times has he made you watch those movies?
Oh my God, probably 25 times. And the funny thing is that, like, my mom is a really big sci-fi nerd. And so I grew up on Star Trek and Star Wars and, you know, anything sci-fi. Like, I didn't even know, she's the one that turned me on to Stranger Things. You know, she's like, you gotta watch this, you know, and Guardians of the Galaxy. And so she's always been more of like sci-fi person. So that's kind of what I've always like watched a lot more. So I'd never seen Bloodsport. I never even saw Rocky IV, or because that's where we created a lot of our characters, or Kickboxer. I mean, that's a phenomenal. I love that movie, and Lionheart, and none of those. My husband turned me on to all that. So my husband's really helped me be educated in the 80s and early 90s when it comes to incredible epic action movies.
That's great. Now you mentioned sci-fi, Wife Like. Let's jump right into that. How were you approached for the series, and tell us about your role for Holly?
Oh gosh, it's Wife Like was a really interesting process. I got the script really probably a couple months before we ended up shooting it. So it was definitely a really interesting process to see how like it evolved as well. And I learned so much from even this, seeing how like the script from each rewrite, how it would change. And it wouldn't be like crazy rewrites. It would just be a little bit of stuff, and how it just made the story clearer, you know, defined who the root for, who not the root for, who's the bad guy. And I can't emphasize enough to people who are writers of like, we have to know who the root for, and how like just small little changes can change that. And so I had auditioned for several of the different characters, and I ended up landing on Holly. And yeah, I mean, I'm always preparing, always, even when I'm not doing a movie. So I feel it's the preparation, even when you're not booked and busy, is what makes everything more seamless. So it was that I did do for that than I'm doing right now. You know, it's just acting classes, studying the craft, reading scripts, voice warm-ups. I can't emphasize how much voice warm-ups help too, because for me, English is kind of my second language because I grew up in Latvia. So it's like pronouncing the consonants properly, you know, especially when you're talking fast, people need to understand it. And it was Ilana actually helped me. I started doing tongue twisters, and Ilana put me on because she's so great with her articulation. And she just, even her choices between where she was human versus being the AI was like, she would change her voice. And I was just like, you're so incredible. And she put me onto this amazing voice coach that has really, really, really helped, I feel like, my acting, because it's just, you end up pronouncing your words more, I guess, clear. And, you know, sometimes that makes a really big difference. And it's like all those little things that sometimes we don't understand, like, why is that person a good actor? Well, if you break it down, it's like all these little different things that maybe they do organically and just, they don't think about it. But then when you're learning a craft, maybe not at 5 years old, we have to break things down. So it was just that process. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun working with Jonathan Rhys-Meyers and Ilana, and it was great. My stuff with Jonathan Rhys, we had a couple things with Jonathan Rhys-Meyers as well, and those scenes were really fun to do.
What was your overall reaction after, like, even reading the script or even just watching the finished product of the movie, and the way it was like kind of like left off?
I think how it's left off, we're definitely giving it a teaser. So I definitely see like, I want to see the next movie. No spoilers, but I mean, you're really rooting for Ilana. You're really rooting for the AIs. And it's kind of crazy because when I read the script and also when I watched the movie, I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. Something like that could happen. Right. And so it's kind of like, oh, this is kind of like a documentary almost. So yeah, it was cool. I am one of the, I guess Miro wants to come into the podcast. naked. Miro, please. Everyone wants to see you shirtless. Um, but yeah, I think that it was really cool to be one of the few humans, or maybe one of the few women humans in the movie. Yeah, so that it was a blast to do.
So
and I hope they
yeah, so the movie's available pretty much everywhere now on streaming platforms. Now, I did notice that you're on the Surreal Life reboot. What can you tell us about that? I know you can't tell us too much, but what can you tell us?
Oh my gosh, the tea is gonna be crazy hot. Like, whoa. There was a lot of drama. Of course. I mean, you're putting essentially 8 strangers together in a house. And I guess celebrities. It's always a little weird to put myself in that category. But some of those people are huge celebrities, like Dennis Rodman, Frankie Muniz. I mean, everyone in their own right is famous. And so you're putting 8 different people into a house with no doors. And of course, a lot of things are bound to happen. And also just people from completely different backgrounds, different cultures, different races, different religions, different career paths. So yeah, I mean, I made friends, I laughed, I cried, I had several panic attacks on there. Yeah, gosh, I wish I could spill a lot more tea. It's going to be interesting what makes the show, because, we were there for 14 days and they're filming. Not only every room has cameras and also the bathroom has sound. So you're kind of losing your mind because you're like, can I just have like 5 seconds to myself? Besides that, you also have cameras following you around. So it's going to be interesting how they'll edit all together. Some of the activities were so much fun. Me, Tamar Braxton, Frankie Muniz, and Manny MUA, who is a huge YouTuber, beauty vlogger. We were all supposed to do it, but we were like really competitive. And sometimes the activations that we had to do daily were kind of challenging. So we really developed a fun little like competitive bond.
Right.
Playing cards. There's definitely some drama with Dennis Rodman. I'm sure you guys will see. So that would be fun.
So this is kind of like your second time around with like a reality show. Would you do it again if you could?
Would I do Surreal Life again if I could?
No, like another reality show, like Total Divas was kind of like a reality show. And so this one now, would you do like any other idea, any type of other reality show that you could do?
I never say never to anything. I keep my options open. And I'm a storyteller and entertainer. So I take all the formats that it comes in.
Now, what's next for you now? Any other projects you're allowed to tell us about?
Yeah. Actually, I shot an action movie in March, and it's going to be with Paramount Plus as well. It's called Snag. I play an assassin, which is really exciting. Originally, it was written for a man, and it was kind of inspired like certain elements of The Undertaker. So that was kind of cool. And like it's an action comedy, so there's some spots in there that definitely will give you like an Undertaker vibe. But it was really cool because one of the financiers and one of the head of distribution at Paramount, Dan Cohen, really kind of threw the idea out to them of like, what about if you use CJ or Lana, who is an action, can do all her own action, all her own stunts, and she's been training. And they love the idea. So I'm very, very thankful for people like Dan Cohen and Ben, who's the director, who decide to think outside of the box, because people could be like, no, we want a guy. I'm whooping everyone's ass in the movie. So it's great. I'm literally whooping everyone's ass. I'm killing people. And it was like such a change of dynamics from WWE where, Vince McMahon wanted me to be in sparkles and pink and getting my ass whooped. So I was like, whoa, I get to whoop grown ass men's asses. This is fun. Awesome. So yeah, and I'm just thankful that they took that chance to, we can give women opportunities that may, it's television, it's movies, it's not always have to reflect exactly real life,
One of the last questions I want to ask you is, and I don't know if you can say anything to us, AEW, are we going to see you on there anytime soon? Do you want to be part of it someday?
I would love to. I mean, I love storytelling. I love wrestling. I love the fans. And I can't emphasize how much I miss miss it. You know, I miss fans. There's nothing like the people and that connection that you have. And I love television and movies, but you don't get that instant gratification. You know, you don't even know. All you really get is online and the critics.
Right.
And it's okay, and when you're live performing in the wrestling arena, you know exactly how they feel immediately. And it's just such a relationship that I really, really am thankful for that I have with the audience. And so I love to do something with AEW. If the story's right, I love to do something with Miro or maybe with other people. But I want to tell compelling stories. So awesome. If it's right, I absolutely love it.
Perfect. Lastly, now for the listeners and the viewers, how can they find you on social media? What's your favorite social media platform?
Yes, subscribe to cjperry.com, where you will get all the exclusives on everything. I am directing my first short. It's going to be an action comedy, and that I will be putting on there. There will be other things eventually that other people will see. All the tea is over there. I give a lot of exclusive stories over there as well. So subscribe, and then as well as at the CJ Perry, so THE, CJ Perry on all socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, all of it.
CJ, I want to thank you for giving me a few minutes today. This was a great chat.
Thank you. You're so awesome.